Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 10-Minute Trades Trade Room Plus, the U.S. Jobs Report. My name is Lee Goldstein. I'm the Trading Director for 10-Minute Trades. Please remember that all the trades we discuss are for educational purposes. It is possible to lose money trading futures, so trade carefully, please. Good morning, everyone, and welcome into the trade room this morning. We're here for the U.S. Jobs Report. So a couple of things to be aware of. This is probably going to be a margin trade, meaning the brokers are going to raise margins 10 minutes before the event takes place. And a couple of months ago, NinjaTrader announced that they were changing their margin policies on very volatile news events, and this is one of them. So we'll check and see what the possible margins are going to be. And also AMP brokerage also announced that they were going to have events that they claim are going to be higher margin events, and this report definitely was on their list. They took a couple of reports off this week, ADP and Thursday jobs, the Thursday jobless claims. No micro Lou that I have ever traded or tested that I'm familiar with. You could trade ZF, which is half the price. Not quite half. It's five. It's either, I forget if it's 6 1/4 or 5. I think it's 6 1/4 ZF. But all our testing is on ZN, just so you know. I'm going to check. We will check the margins. We could take a look right now and see what the policy is. I want to welcome everybody that's watching us on YouTube. If you'd be kind enough, hit the like button, hit the notification bell also so you know the next time we'll be streaming. We stream once a week on YouTube. So AMP definitely includes this report. And the way that AMP is working, the instruments are 25% of the maintenance margin. So the maintenance margin is listed there. If you're an AMP customer, you should have AMP's complete margin information, right? But you can assume that the margin is up on all instruments that we're going to be trading. That's the nature of what the brokers want to do on these volatile reports, potentially volatile reports. And then NinjaTrader, they actually have higher margin. And let me show you what they're going to do. And it's not announced now. It'll be announced 10 minutes before the trade. But we can assume, if you check the trade desk calendar, you can see that the employment report is on the calendar, and that means it's a high margin event. And you can click the little button here. And what Ninja is doing is they're using what they call their initial margin or maintenance overnight margin. For instance, the ES is $11,000 on a contract. The NQ is 17. So it's going to be high margins. Gold, let's see what gold is. ZN is 2,100 per contract. Pretty reasonable considering. ZF is 1430. Gold is going to be up there. Gold is 75.90. 75.90. Okay. MGC micro gold is less than $800. Okay. The indexes are what they charge the most for. They raise the margin the most. YM is 8,000 a contract. And then the micros are in the 800s per contract. Gold's expensive. It's 75.90. 75.90. And oil is 7,700. Oil is one of our possible setups as well. And oil is 7,700. MCL is 770. MCL is 770. So margins are up for this event. They will be. They will be up. So let's look at the DNN. So it means that you have to have a significant amount of money in your account to trade the instruments, to trade gold. So on gold, you have a micro, you've got MGC. Oil, there's a micro, MCL. So let's look at the DMM, just see what's going on with this report. So gold actually has been trading okay on this report as of late. ZN has been trading okay on this report. Just give me 1 second. So the gold breakout has been having very good trading. It tends to really chop around a lot. Okay. But it's had quite a few winners over the past 6 months. Bonds is another possible alternate setup. And also oil has been working as an alternative setup as well as a breakout. So I'll go over the setups for everyone. If you want to trade gold, then we've got a bracket of 25. Our activation time is 8:29:59. If there's no fill in 10 seconds, we would normally cancel. Targeting is, and when you look at your targeting, we've got very small targets on the chart, 15 and 30. If you get a good win with gold, you can get bigger targets. So targets are very personal. It's not a bad idea to be conservative because the price does chop around a lot. So our targets are 15 and 30, and the stop is 35 on gold. And then the oil setup, which has been an interesting setup, it's also been working nicely. We have a bracket of 8, an activation time of 8:29:58. And what I might do is target my first target. I might go for 8 to 10 ticks on my first target. Leave my second target in the 20s, and the stop is 20. If you hit your first smaller target, you can move your stop into safety and trail it manually if it starts moving and continues moving in your direction. So oil has a bracket of 8, activation time of 8:29:58. Targets, so I would consider 8 to 10 on my first target, and the second target somewhere in the 20s with a stop of 20. And then bonds have a bracket of 7, an activation time of 8:29:59, targets of 9 and 20 with a stop of 12. So let me just show you a couple of interesting things. I did some bond testing over the past week. Let me see if I have the video. I may not have recorded that, but bonds are trading very well on these reports. I'm going to trade bonds. Here, this is November. I had been hit by a car in November, so I did not trade that particular day live, but I was in the room. So let me show you what happened that day. I had 2 setups that I was looking at. One setup was oil. One setup was gold. The gold setup worked in November. And oil is probably the mellowest of all of the reactions that we've seen on this event. Watch it again. So oil has had very nice moves on this report. Let me just look one more time. I thought I had, here we go. I know I'm not crazy. So I've got interesting testing on bonds. This was January. And it's really a question, as long as you get a good fill, depending upon liquidity. Then I tested, I thought I tested more than January. Hang on. So that was January. Then I tested December. Let's see if that shows up in the video. And December had a very large move in bonds also. So, you know, are the brokers, one of the questions that you have to think about is, are the brokers warning us by limiting what they allow you to do, or are they protecting themselves? It's an honest question to ask. And I think it's a little bit of both. So in other words, if a broker is putting some limitations on what you can trade and on the margin, then it's certainly a heads up that the event can be very volatile. There's no two ways around it. So it's a heads up that you want to trade carefully on an event that a broker puts special attention on. So I think that there is a message that gets sent when brokers create higher margin trades. Okay. So it's just something to realize. And I think it is important. So I'm going to trade bonds this morning. I'll trade 2 contracts. And I'm going to activate my trade at 829.59. And I've got a bracket of 7. And I've got a target of 7. And I'm going to use a second target of 19. I'm going to use a stop of 12. That's the way I'm going to trade bonds. And then my input series is going to match my chart. ZN 323 is the instrument we're trading. And I'm going to check the layout of my brackets. I'm going to put my time on 0 for a second. Make sure that my charts are on sim. And I'm just going to look at my brackets so that I can manage the trade. I'm going to keep the news. Going to keep the news off to the side because there's a lot of elements that make up this particular report. Okay. So look at all the news that makes up this report. You've got, what are the important elements? The non-farm payrolls is the big one. They're expecting 185,000. Now, we're not like the old days. In the old days, it was very simple the way the market would respond to this news. If the jobs were greater than 185,000 by a decent amount, the market would go up. But now what we're dealing with, everyone's worried about the Fed. It would actually be better to get about 170,000 jobs. That would probably be perfect. Or to get 185. The market would love to see a little bit less jobs growth so that the Fed slows down. That's what the market, that would make the market very happy. Okay. And of course, the unemployment rate matters, although it's extremely low these days. Participation rate has meaning also. The key number, though, is the non-farm payrolls. That's the big number. Okay. And we'll check our time sync. So let me put up a screen just as I set up, go through all the settings. Okay, everybody, welcome to the Trade Room Plus non-farm payrolls, the U.S. jobs report. And I want to go over the settings for everyone. One more time, before we go over the settings one more time, let's double check. Let's check our sync by going to the website time.is. Okay, my computer is in sync. And I'm going to go to Back to my setup on bonds. I'm entering my time, 8:29:59. Our bracket is 7, and I'm trading 2 contracts. You can use a range of targets anywhere between 6 and 25. The stop is 12. That's my bond setup. Uncheck account warnings, Frank. Uncheck account warnings, especially if you're trading live. Otherwise, you'll have to tell the software if you're trading live. It's one extra step that you have to take. So the bond setup is ready. That's the setup that I'm trading. And I always triple check my time when I get ready to enable it in the control panel. Okay, and then other setups, if you'd like to use them. We do like the oil setup a lot. First off, the main setup gold is a bracket of 25, activate at 8:29:59, cancel 10 seconds. You have a 15 tick target and a 30 tick target. There would be no harm in doing 10 ticks and 40 and see if you could get a better setup. You could do 10 and 20. The stop is 35. Don't forget margins. Margins are up. 7,000, more than 7,000 a contract on gold is required in an account. The oil setup is a bracket of 8, 8:29:58 on the activation. It's also a 10-second cancel. Targets are 15 and 25 with a stop of 20. Targets can be in a range anywhere between 8 and 30, okay? You don't have to use the exact targets. The stop is 20, the bracket is 8 on oil. Okay. And let's double check. I'll show you why we know the margins are going to be up. Ninja Trader made the announcement months ago that they are going to raise their margins 10 minutes before an event, a high volatility event that appears on their trade calendar. So when you check their margin screen, it now says that the margins are up 4 times intraday, okay? 4 times intraday. Those are extremely high margins. 4 times intraday. And they only say for highly volatile products. They don't list every single instrument. So they have changed the way they're doing it now a little bit. 4 times intraday is less than the initial margin. So for instance, gold, 4 times intraday. Ironically, on gold, it's 8,000. Okay, gold is much higher than the instruments. The ES is 2,000, not 11,000. Okay, because it's 4 times intraday. So it hurts the gold trader. The gold trader needs more money than the ES or the NQ trader. NQ is 4,000. It's 1,000, sorry, it's 1,000 per contract. Now, don't forget that when you put our software on the chart, you're double the margin because you have an order above the price and an order below the price. So it's double the margin. Okay, don't forget that. Double the margin. Because it's double the amount of orders. You have an order above and an order below. So we've got about 4.5 minutes. Any questions? Is everybody comfortable? Everybody understand what's going on? Thanks again, everybody, for watching on YouTube. Not a single like. A ton of people watching on YouTube. Hit the like button. Hit the notification bell. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you joining our stream of the week on YouTube. The key number that the markets are looking for is the non-farm payroll number. Like we said before, if the jobs numbers are fairly close to what's expected, I think the market will like that. What the market is not going to like, if too many jobs are created. If we're at 300,000 or well above 185,000, the market may see that as negative news because it will be considered inflationary. Too strong a job market, the market is not liking. The market is not liking that. So that's an issue that you want to be aware of, okay? So we're watching the markets. Everybody's been waiting with bated breath for this particular report this week. The FOMC report was important. Apple earnings were important. It's the first time they said in a long time that Apple had such negative earnings. So, you look at the tech earnings. I think, was Amazon negative on their earnings? I forget now if Amazon was negative or positive. I think Amazon wound up turning the market around. So Apple's a big disappointment. But there's certainly, if you look at earnings, there have been a lot of good earnings too. All right, we've got about 2 minutes to go. Now, it's interesting that some of us are trading bonds. Years ago, one of the original instruments that we traded on the U.S. jobs report, NFP, it's called non-farm payrolls. NFP is the official name, actually, of this report. Years ago, we used to trade ZB, the 30-year bond. ZN and ZB and ZF trade very similarly on this report usually. And ZF is less per tick than ZN, which is less per tick than ZB. And ZB, ZN, and ZF tend to have better liquidity than ZB. But I remember years ago when I first got here, we had a lot more trades with ZB than we have now. All right, about 30 seconds to go. So my brackets will show up on the chart a second before the news. Couple of seconds. There's our bracket. Come on, go down and hit that target. Hit that target. Come on. All right. 328.13 got a very decent move on bonds, a fair amount of slippage because I got filled pretty low down the candle. Let's relax for a second. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. I would anticipate, without looking at the news, that the jobs were very, very large. Very large amount of jobs were created. I like the way bonds traded. I'd like a roll call. Let's get a roll call. Oil. Who traded oil? Tell me what you traded. Please put it in the info. 517,000 jobs created. That's inflationary. That's a worry. That's going to probably create a lousy market day today, possibly. All of the job news. In the old days, this would be a phenomenal jobs report. If we were, 2 years, 3, 4 years ago, pre-pandemic, this would have been a phenomenal jobs report. Today, it's considered an inflationary report, 517,000 jobs. That's way above what they expected. Way above what they expected. All right, Pat had a great trade. Okay, here's our roll call. Everything worked. It looks like everything worked. Oil worked. Doc made 160. Pat got his money back from yesterday, which is awesome. Made great money the day before. Chantal traded oil, $180. Eric traded gold. Very, very good. So look, our setups were great for this report. I know that trading sometimes is tough. I was a little bit gun shy today. I normally would have traded 4 or 5 contracts. So it's very nice to see bonds doing well on this report. They've traded. You see how they moved very calmly, and it looked like we'll go through the video. We'll go through the video. Everyone had a great trade. Everyone had a great trade. Great way to finish the week. You could, it's up to you if you're going to trade ISM later. Totally up to you. If you want to trade another report. No fill on ZF. Very interesting. No fill on ZF. MGC, you can get markets that go so fast on this type of a trade that you might not always get a fill. You might not always get a fill. It happens. It happens. Apple's almost green today. That's very interesting, Alan. Thank you for that info. Thanks for that info. You have to have a lot of guts to trade NQ on this event, in my opinion. NQ, very possible to get a frozen market on the NQ, but I think the markets, most of the markets traded pretty well. Make sure your trade is turned off. Make sure your trade is turned off. So it looks like that almost every setup worked. So Denny, the problem that you're having on Apex, Chantal, Denny's trying to trade breakouts, and Apex is just being an issue. Do you know what I mean? And that's the problem is Apex, Denny, they really don't respond well to fast breakouts. It's what I was explaining in the email that when we went back and forth. It's Apex, because when everyone has a good trade and it's just the eval, it's because of the way they deal with breakouts. They really don't do well with that type of a setup. That's the issue. And they're not going to let you get paid if you trade news either. They will not let you get paid if you trade news. Now, who's saying hello to me there? Who is that? Oh, okay. Eric sent his gold video. So let's take a look at how gold traded live, okay, for someone. You saw bonds. We'll look at the video again. So give me a second. Let me get Eric's video. It's great. You know, look, I feel bad that we made money. I don't look, first of all, I don't feel bad that we made money. I'm real happy that everybody made money, that almost every single person made money. But I feel bad that the market goes down and we made a lot of money. Do you know what I mean? I do feel bad that we made money and the market goes down. I would prefer to see the markets go up. I mean, I want people to make money on their stocks, etc. I think the world is topsy-turvy. You know, good jobs numbers create a negative concept in the markets. Although, you know what? Hang on a second. Let's take a look at the NQ. Okay. NQ, big move down. ES looks just like the NQ. You can bet the euro was tradable today. All the charts look exactly the same today. It's amazing. What's interesting is all the charts are in the same direction. Usually bonds and gold are in the opposite direction. Usually. Years ago, it used to be that way. Let's take a look at a live gold trade. It was a bread and butter trade. Eric, I don't know how you got that trade off because I would have thought margin would have been an issue. So I think we got a little bit of luck from the broker today because I know that account is a little bit small. So, you know, it may vary. Who knows what these brokers are doing these days? I mean, they claim that they're doing this margin changes. Now, for everybody's knowledge, if you are not currently recording your trades, you can use Loom. Okay, Eric uses Loom. It's free. They have a free version. It's a very easy to use recorder. So this was Eric's gold trade. And I'm just going to move to the point in the video. There's this clock, still got a couple of minutes. Gold definitely can be a nerve-wracking instrument to trade. There's no denying that gold is nerve-wracking because it's very volatile, but it also has fantastic moves also. When a report goes your way and you're in a gold trade, it's a great thing. You really feel great. So there's the brackets, and gold just shoots down, and looks like Eric took about, you made 36 ticks. I didn't look at your setup to see how you actually set your trade up, but you took 36 ticks for an easy $360. That was a pretty low fear. Okay, good. You took a 36 tick target. Very, very smart trading from my boss. Okay. So you could see that gold had a nice move. Watch again. Eric's brackets are going to show up in a couple of seconds. I thought it was the same target as last month. Much easier trade this month, much less pressure. It just shoots down and hits the target. It looks like it was really a perfect target, a perfect size target for that initial, for the initial target. So very well done. Very good gold trade. And let's look at the video. No movement to get out exactly. We used to call that a bread and butter trade. bread and butter. Why do we call it a bread and butter trade? It's hard to say. It's because it's like it fed us. The trade fed us like instantly. It fed us instantly. Okay, so I see there is interesting, good conversation about the eval accounts with what you're allowed to do these days. The interesting thing about eval accounts, and think about this, they let you trade news in an eval, but they don't let you trade news in a funded account. What sense is that? It doesn't make sense. It seems to me that it's a way to get money. So why don't they just do the same rules in all the accounts? Something to think about. Right. Don't forget, post your winning trades. We put the link in the room because we do have members trade of the week. I think I know who the member trade of the week is this week. As long as we can see the video, you know what I mean? It has to be able to be seen also. Let's look at our video. We'll just look at the two instruments that we traded in the room. Bonds. Bonds were a little bit nerve-wracking. A little bit nerve-wracking. Let me render the video. Hang on one second. Okay, 2 seconds. It would seem to me that if they will not pay you in an eval account for trading news, you don't want to trade brackets to get funded. That's what I would think. Unless you then have absolute other methods that you feel you can, you have to change your methods to get paid, which is kind of goofy. But I don't question too much anything these days because everything is kind of goofy. That's what I think. Everything is goofy. Let's look at the video. Here's what bonds looked like. First, let's look at the right side of the chart. Let's look at the gold trade. I was just watching gold. Now, the interesting thing, though, is oil is the quiet hero, right? Oil is the quiet hero. Eric, have a good one. I'll see you later. Oil's the quiet hero. What do I mean by that? It's been winning month after month after month. Gold, gold was very fast. So it's completely understandable if a gold trade filled you far down the candle. The good thing about gold is it was a very large move. It was $9. It was $3.70 negative, and it was almost $12.70 immediately. And then it went as far as 17. So gold had pretty good movement there. And that's why it was possible to get those 36 ticks. The bonds, I think the nice thing about bonds is the bracket is not so big that you can't make money. You can make money on bonds. More and more reports these days seem to be doing well with bonds. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So you could see that's the perfect kind of move. A little bit fast. What happened was we got filled pretty far down the candle. So actually trading two contracts, a little bit conservative, worked for bonds today. It did work. Okay. It did eventually keep moving, but it was filled pretty far down the candle, which doesn't surprise me. I would guess everybody could have been filled pretty far down their candles. Okay. But it was such a strong move after the fill, it was still very possible to make money. Now, I want to thank everybody on YouTube. Chantal, it's time to say goodbye to everybody on YouTube. Hit the like button on your way out, please, and hit the notification bell so you know the next time we're streaming. We really appreciate it. And Amazon, Google was very difficult. Yes, Board of Trading. It was a difficult trade. Amazon chopped around quite a bit before it settled in to finding a direction. Thanks everybody for watching on YouTube. We'll see you next week. Who's got a question?